their quarterback is horrible. John Skelton started. He got pulled. They put in the third stringer. The third stringer was a mess. Kevin Cobb's hurt, and I don't think Kevin Cobb's anything special. Seattle's battling for a playoff spot. I mean, Russell Wilson, he didn't do anything crazy yesterday, but we talked about him last week. He leads the team to another win. He's beaten Aaron Rodgers. He's beaten Tony Romo. I mean, Seattle's played good, and Marshawn Lynch with 3 more touchdowns, and he'll be coming in this week to Buffalo, or I should say Toronto. And he'll be facing his former team, so I'm sure Lynch will just continue to roll, considering Buffalo's down and
I think
out.
Buffalo has a holy hope in you-know-what. To beat the Seahawks.
I don't know. It seems like Buffalo plays to the level of their competition. If they play a good team like New England, in New England, they can stay with them. But when they face a team like St. Louis, I'm not saying St. Louis is bad, but they just play to the level of the competition.
So it should be a good game then.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Buffalo keep it close. I wouldn't be surprised to see Buffalo win, to be honest. Seattle's going to be down their top 2 corners next week because of the suspensions. So, again, they got a game plan around Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson. So we'll see how Bills in Toronto goes this year.
And then with the again with emotional news, the saddening news of Dallas Cowboy Jerry Brown died in a car accident because of his teammate Jason Hatcher. I don't understand why people drive drunk.
Do you know what this reminds me of?
Danny Heatley.
Yes.
Exactly. What happened to Danny Heatley again? It was a long time ago. I completely forget. He was in Atlanta at the time, right?
He was in Atlanta, and he got crashed his Ferrari, killed Dan Snyder, and then he was supposed to be on the cover of NHL. I think it was 2005, and they changed it to Joe Sakic because it was just such a negative influence. Oh yeah, and Danny Heatley never ended up. Don't quote me on this. I don't think Danny Heatley ended up playing another game in Atlanta. They shipped him over to Ottawa for Marian Hossa. I might be wrong. He might have played another year, but I remember Danny Heatley saying how all he could think about in Atlanta was Dan Snyder and that he needed a new place to start. But I mean, 2 tragedies in the NFL in 2 weeks, and
the Cowboys come out with an emotional win.
Yes, game-winning field goal in the last play, but somehow they won. They didn't deserve to win, but they pulled it out.
I think it was, they're just trying to grind it out because of how they felt.
For sure.
It was a hard fought. I mean, they didn't earn the win through the whole game, but they definitely earned it at the end. They wanted that win.
The thing with this tragedy, though, is this one could have been avoided. I mean, I don't know what Hatcher and Brown are doing, driving drunk. I mean, the NFL has programs set up on the back of their player cards, if like a chauffeur service, that they can call a number and they'll get picked up, and it's on the union.
And why are they not exercising that privilege?
I don't know. It's
as a professional athlete, even to be not even paying for a service like that.
Yeah.
And you don't take advantage of it. I mean,
well, you're in the NFL, you're a big player, you're going to go partying, you're going to go to the clubs, obviously. And
there's no excuse for driving drunk.
There's no excuse for being stupid. I mean, and Jason Hatcher had to post $500,000 bond, and his friend is dead. It's an unfortunate event.
He seemed pretty quiet coming out of the police station when they took him out to when he posted his bond.
Yeah.
I don't know. How bad do you feel as Hatcher? I mean, he's got to feel like
this is a little of what happened. I don't want to relate it back to hockey, but there was a little period there in the NHL where it just seemed like the enforcers were dying. Like you had Derek Boogaard and Wade Belak, and it all happened at once.
Yeah,
and hopefully this isn't the case for the NFL, where, like, you know, in a couple more weeks something else happens. I mean, it's an unfortunate set of events that have happened that the NFL has to live with. But on
to a more positive note.
On to more positive, I would say Adrian Peterson would be the most positive thing you could talk about this season. 1,600 yards rushing. Threw up another great fantasy performance yesterday. I think he could win MVP over Peyton Manning. But what's crazy about AP is the guy tears his ACL late last year. And people are saying that he's going to come back. He's going to have a transition period where he's not going to be the same. And he comes back stronger than ever. I mean, the guy's a machine. I don't know what you think about him. I think he should win MVP over Manning.
Really?
Yeah.
After what's happening in Denver? Like, seriously?
Don't get me wrong, Peyton Manning's great, but it's a toss-up, really. You can't go wrong with who you pick.
I think Peyton Manning, what he's done to Colorado.
Denver?
No, Colorado Avalanche. What am I talking about?
It's okay. I want hockey too.
I know. Hasn't it been on your ever since last Wednesday? I know we're getting on this throughout the whole NFL talk. We're talking hockey.
We're done NFL. Let's move on to
anyways
the soap opera of the NHL.
I just want to finish my point on Peyton Manning, what he's done for Denver.
Extraordinary.
And it speaks volumes about the kind of guy he is, the kind of player he is, the superstar he is. Will he get MVP over Adrian Peterson?
Who knows? You can't go wrong.
Maybe. Exactly.
He probably will, based off the fact that Denver will make the playoffs and Minnesota probably won't. But if you take either player away from that team, they're nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It makes a huge difference.
Moving on to players who aren't playing.
Again, yes. I think the reason we've been talking about it throughout our entire NFL talk is because it's so frustrating for sports fans, hockey fans in particular, to see how close they can get to a deal.
Does it bother you what happened last week? Like, for them to come out and say, for them to meet originally, like, without Bettman or Fear, and then for them to say, yeah, there was progress, and then for everything to just blow up. Like, does it bother you?
It bothers me. It bothers me a lot. I don't know about you, but, you know, again, last week I had said that there wasn't going to be a season. I wholeheartedly thought that. And what did I tell you? 24 hours after we did the show,
Jay comes up to me and says, "You know what? I think there's going to be a season."
And a lot of people did. And that's why this is so bad. And that's why a lot of people are very upset. You know, there was stories.
They let us on. That's what happened.
There were stories going back and forth, like, you know, the players went into the meeting after they had, you know, the owners gave them an agreement saying that if you agree to, you know, 3 of these things, we'll give you the $100 million will stick extra to the contracts. Or
they wanted a 10-year CBA.
Yeah, that was the stipulation.
Max length on contracts.
Yeah.
And then the NHLPA wanted the $300 million wholesale provision, and they wanted the contracts to be honored. And like Bettman said, it was a whole package deal. But why wasn't this done in August?
Okay, first of all, you're preaching to the choir here. Second of all, there's no point in asking that question. You know as well as I do that they should have done this 6 months ago. There's not a question in my mind. You know, if they were arguing about this stuff 6 months ago, people would not be as upset if it did continue up until this point, you know? Because actually it wouldn't have continued, because if they were having these if they were having these types of discussions in, say, like July, which they weren't even meeting in July. I think they met at the end of the end of July is when they started meeting. They should have started meeting in April. You know, I know that the playoffs are still going on at that time, but really, I mean, if they're having 4 owners now going into a meeting with, I don't know how many players, it changes every single day how many players were in that room. First there's 18, then there's 5, then there's 10, I don't know.
Sidney Crosby's always there, though, it seems.
Oh, yeah, he's always there. And if you're doing that, why couldn't you do that during the season? Because these players, not all of them are playing every single day. Bring new players in every day then. Have the same owners. These owners, what are they possibly doing, these owners, that they're so busy? Running the franchise? No, the GM is running the franchise. If GMs got brought into the meeting, that would be an interesting dynamic. And I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago. We're like, what if they brought GMs into it? What could they add? Would they add anything really that would help the owners?